Hey guys, it's Spike. Okay, so I'm in this health class, and a big purpose of the class was teaching us like the dangers of drugs and alcohol and cigarettes and all that good stuff. And, reading it, I think it had a lot of good points. I mean, I personally don't want to take part in any of it anyway, so I don't know how much I gained from it, but I kind of learned how to, look at it and, learned about it. And, a lot of what it says I don't have a problem with, because it's really just giving you what, the truth is. I do think it inflates it to make it look worse than it is. And I think that's messed up. But on the other hand, I think it's teaching kids or whatever. I don't think they should inflate it like that for kids just to make it seem, scarier. Because that's really not fair. It's not presenting, all the facts and all the sides and whatever. But that's what they do. And so I was reading through it. This is the book right here with the strawberry on the cover and all that good stuff. And I was reading. It said about living drug free was the name of the chapter. And I thought, okay, maybe this would have some good things in it. About for some kids how to avoid drugs. I read something, and it really kind of irked me. And let me read it to you. It said it's parted. It says committing to be drug free. It is sometimes difficult to make decisions quickly. You may not have time to consider all of the consequences until after a dangerous situation has passed. You may feel unsure about saying no to drug use. If your friends put pressure on you to use drugs, you may need to decide whether you want to continue to remain friends with someone who uses drugs. Right? See, that makes a little bit of sense, doesn't it? Just reading through that, maybe it makes a little bit of sense that, sometimes you don't want to be friends with people who are pressuring you and not respecting your decision not to use drugs. But it said to continue to remain friends with someone who uses drugs. Now, reading just that, you might understand the context in which they're saying it. Well, you probably won't want to be friends with someone who uses drugs that's pressuring you. But it doesn't say that. It says friends who uses drugs, but that's really what someone would imagine is implied, or implying that most people that use drugs are not respectful of other people's choice not to, which really isn't necessarily true. But so I'd have figured, that's not that big of a deal. It's just one sentence, and I'm sure they probably didn't mean that quite that way. But then I read on. To commit to remaining drug free, choose friends who share your attitude, and whoever had this highlighted that, about drug use, and avoid places where drugs may be available. That irks me. Even a teen who has used drugs in the past can choose not to use drugs in the future. Yada yada yada. Refusal skills can help you say no to drugs. Yeah, thinking of and practicing refusal skills, refusal statements ahead of time will help you feel comfortable using them. Examples of refusal statements include: "No thanks, I don't use drugs." "I can't, I'm on a medication." "I'm not interested, that stuff makes me sick." "No, I have to be in great shape for tomorrow's game." You know, the refusal statements, first of all, let's start with the refusal statements. That's pathetic. You have to come up with some refusal statements. Just be honest. All these people are just a bunch of wimps. Just come on and be blunt. I don't use drugs. It's very simple, and that's one of them. No thanks, I don't do drugs. But you don't need to come up with a lie. People are so worried about their population. If someone's really gonna put their, popularity. Sorry. If someone's really gonna put their health after their popularity and importance, they are ridiculous. They're stupid. If you're gonna put your health behind your popularity, if that's the reason you're starting to use drugs, you're an idiot. Obviously, you have something missing in your life, and you are pathetic. And when it talks about choosing friends who share your attitude about drug use and avoid places where drugs may be available, aw, shelter myself from the world. That's not real life. In life, you can't avoid places where drugs are available. In life, you can't avoid meeting people who, do drugs. You know what? I'm a juggalo, and, I'm an underground hip hop dude, and I'm bound to be around drugs. You know what I'm saying? I'm bound to be around people smoking weed. I'm bound to be around people drinking beer. And I'm bound to be around people smoking cigarettes. The fact is, I'm not weak. The fact is, I can be around these people. I can be friends with these people. I can have close relationships with these people without feeling pressured. The question is whether I would want to be with somebody, be friends with somebody who would be try to convince me. That's not right, but most of my friends who do that sort of stuff, are very respectful of my choice not to. They don't give me a hard time. Maybe they'll ask me. Maybe people will ask me if I do it. And then if I say no, they leave it alone. So are these really bad friends? You know, they try to make it sound like someone who uses drugs is automatically a bad person. And that pisses me off. If people want to make their choice in their own life to use, to smoke a blunt every once in a while, you know what? Who am I to say that they're a bad person for it? And who am I to avoid them for it? You know, it's freaking ridiculous. Now, some people will say, oh, well, it's a school textbook. You have to understand, they're trying to stand up for what's right in their mind. They're trying to make sure kids stay away from it, and that's their way of doing it. But the fact is, it's ridiculous. I don't really care if they're trying to make kids stay away from it, because all they're doing is making kids want to. They're making it seem like drugs are the cool thing to do. Oh, but you can have alternatives to drugs. Oh, great. No, but they're making it look like drugs is what all the cool kids do, and that you should not be around people who do drugs. And that's not true. And some guy was giving me some statistic for how many people who hang around people who do drugs themselves. Well, duh. I mean, of course, but the fact is, not everybody has to avoid people and be sheltered from the world to make a choice in their own life not to do drugs. And you don't have to avoid the presence of anybody who makes a different life choice than you do. Like I said, it's one thing to hassle somebody because they're not doing it and saying they're uncool and try to get them to do it. It's another thing to do it yourself. And so, I just think this is ridiculous. Maybe I'm only speaking for myself when I say I can be around weed, cigarettes, beer. I'm sure I could even be around, I don't know if I could be around hard drugs just because, well, people who do that usually are pretty messed up. I mean, I'm not judging people, but some of those hard drugs are really harmful, and once you do that, it's almost like your mind definitely is not the same. Your attitude is definitely not the same. But you know what? If somebody wants to smoke a blunt, that doesn't make them a bad person. And it doesn't mean I need to avoid them. It doesn't mean we need to tell kids to avoid them. What we need to tell kids is, here are the consequences. Here is what will happen if you use drugs. Here are the benefits. Here are the legal consequences. And it's up to the parents to say, hey, you have to be smart. It's up to the kids to have parents to instill in their kids a sufficient amount of self-esteem to where they can make their own choices, to where they can make their decisions based on intellect and intelligent reasoning, rather than making their choices based on what this stupid book says, based on what their friends are doing, based on any of that. The fact is, they should be able to look at the facts and make that choice. When you talk about younger kids, yes, I completely understand how influential they are, but high school kids, tired of them talking down on us, basically. Because I can be around drugs, I can be around it, and I haven't touched it. So, you tell me. Alright, Spike here. Peace out.